People will tell you honesty is the best policy, and I agree mostly. But here's the thing, full transparency is a myth. No one gets all of you, and they shouldn't. Because the moment you hand out every detail of your life, you give away your power. And if you think that sounds a little guarded, good. Today, I'm going to share the 3 things a woman should always keep to herself, not because she's hiding, but because she's protecting. Well, let me walk you through something I've learned the hard way. Boundaries aren't just about saying no. They're about knowing who you are, where you stand, and what parts of you are not up for public discussion. And here's the twist. Most people don't actually set boundaries. They just react when they've already been crossed. That's backwards. You don't wait for someone to step over the line before deciding there's a line. You draw it before they even get close. When you have clear boundaries, you're telling the world, this is where I end and this is where you begin. And that's not rude. That's healthy. The problem is we've been conditioned to think that being open means giving people access to all of us all the time. We equate availability with kindness. But if you hand everyone an all access pass to your life, don't be surprised when some of them wander into rooms they don't belong in. Think about it like your home. You don't let strangers rummage through your bedroom drawers just because they walked in the front door. You have spaces that are private even from people you love. It's the same with your life. You can be warm, generous, and open-hearted without letting people dig into every thought, every plan, and every piece of your history. The challenge is some folks will test those boundaries, not always out of malice, sometimes just out of curiosity. They'll ask questions that are none of their business, press for details you're not ready to share, or expect access to your time and energy on their schedule, not yours. And here's where most people trip up. They think if they don't answer, if they don't say yes, they're being cold. But the truth, you can decline with grace. You can protect your space without becoming defensive. It's not about being secretive. It's about being selective. Boundaries also protect your energy. Every time you give away a piece of yourself to someone who hasn't earned it, you create an opening for their opinion to shape you. And if you do that often enough, you start making choices for them instead of for you. You're no longer living your life. You're managing their perception of you. That's exhausting. And this is especially important for women because society has a way of rewarding self-sacrifice and punishing self-protection. You're told you're so sweet when you overextend and hard to deal with when you draw the line. But boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They're guardrails to keep you from falling into situations that drain you or compromise your values. Here's the thing. When you set a boundary, some people will respect it and some will try to push past it. How they react tells you more about them than it does about you. The ones who get offended that you won't overshare, they're not mad because they care. They're mad because you're not giving them control. That's a clue. And you should pay attention to it. The most powerful boundaries are the ones you don't have to explain over and over. You state them once, you live them out consistently, and you let your actions do the talking. Because here's what happens. People start to learn where the edges are. They realize you won't be guilted into giving more than you're comfortable with. They know you'll listen, you'll support, you'll show up, but not at the expense of your own well-being. And when you get good at this, something incredible happens. You stop feeling guilty for protecting yourself. That guilt starts to fade, replaced by this quiet, steady confidence. You realize you can be fully present with people without giving away pieces of yourself you can't get back. You stop explaining why your boundaries exist because you know they're not up for debate. So here's what I want you to remember. Your boundaries are not just rules for other people. They're reminders for you too. Reminders that your time is valuable, your mind is worth protecting, and your private life is not public property. Because at the end of the day, the only person who's going to live with the consequences of your choices is you. And if that means some people think you're too private or too guarded, so be it. Better to be misunderstood than to be misused. One of the fastest ways to kill a dream is to tell everyone about it before it's ready. I know that sounds counterintuitive because we're taught that sharing our goals creates accountability. But here's the reality. When you open the door too soon, you're inviting a crowd into a space that's still under construction. And not everyone who walks in will be rooting for you. When you share your next move before it's solid, you give other people the chance to weigh in. And trust me, they will. They'll tell you why it won't work. They'll tell you about the time their cousin tried something similar and failed. They'll point out every flaw they can imagine, not because they're necessarily against you, but because most people respond to uncertainty with caution. And that caution can start to rub off on you. It's like planting a seed in a garden. You don't dig it up every few days to show people it's growing. You protect it. You give it time to develop roots. You let the process work before you put it on display. Your plans deserve the same care. They need the privacy to take shape without the noise of other people's opinions drowning out your own conviction. There's another layer to this. When you tell people your plans, your brain gets a little dopamine hit just from saying it out loud. It feels like progress. You get the satisfaction of the vision without doing the work yet. And if you do that too often, the motivation to actually finish can start to fade. It's the same reason some people talk about going to the gym more than they actually go. Talking about it gives them just enough of a sense of accomplishment that they don't feel as much urgency to act. The truth is, people can't sabotage what they don't know about. And that's not just about protecting yourself from malicious intent. It's about protecting your focus from distraction. The more voices you invite into your decision making, the harder it is to hear your own. Some people will try to reshape your plan to match what they would do. Others will want updates before you're ready to give them. And before you know it, your attention is split between building your future and managing their expectations. I've seen this happen over and over. Someone starts out strong, but because they announce their next move too soon, they spend more time defending it than actually executing it. They start second guessing themselves because the people they told don't understand the vision. And here's the thing. How could they? It's not theirs. They didn't see what you saw in the middle of the night when the idea first sparked. They don't feel the drive in your chest when you think about it. They can't see the finished picture in your mind. That's why keeping your plans private until they're strong enough to stand on their own is one of the most powerful things you can do. It's not about being mysterious or secretive for the sake of it. It's about giving your ideas the respect they deserve. It's about making sure you're not building something fragile in a storm of opinions. And when you do finally share it, you'll be doing it from a place of strength. You'll be speaking about something that's already taken shape, something you can show rather than just explain. And that changes everything. People respect results more than promises. You won't have to convince them. It'll be obvious. So yes, dream big. Plan boldly. But in those early stages when your next move is just starting to take form, guard it. Give it the quiet it needs to grow without interference. Let your actions be the announcement. Because sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is the one you don't say until it's done. How you actually feel in a given moment is one of the most valuable pieces of information you have. And it's one of the most dangerous things to hand over freely. The moment you show your full emotional temperature to everyone around you, you give them a roadmap for how to affect you. And not everyone should have that kind of influence. If someone knows exactly what frustrates you, exactly what scares you, exactly what lights you up, they can use it. Some will use it to support you, sure. But others might use it to push buttons, to get a reaction, or to steer you in a direction that serves them more than it serves you. And it doesn't always come from bad intentions. Sometimes it's just human nature. People respond to what they think they can control. This is why being in control of your emotional display is not about being fake. It's about being strategic. It's knowing when to share and when to hold back. There's a difference between being authentic and being unfiltered. Authenticity means your actions match your values. Unfiltered means you're giving out raw information that anyone can grab and run with. And if you do that too often, you're not just expressing yourself. You're giving away leverage. Think about the last time you were upset in front of someone who didn't need to see it. Maybe you were frustrated at work and a coworker caught it in your tone. Even if they didn't mean to, they might have started treating you differently, avoiding certain conversations, questioning your decisions, or gossiping about your mood. That's because once people think they've read they adjust their behavior based on that snapshot, even if it's not the whole picture. The same goes for excitement. If you light up too early about something in front of the wrong person, they might try to influence it, push you to speed it up, slow it down, or change it altogether. When people know your exact emotional state in real time, they can manipulate the pace, the outcome, or even your confidence in it. Now, this doesn't mean walking around with a poker face and never letting anyone in. That's not healthy either. But there's a skill in deciding who gets the full download and who gets the public version of your reaction. You can be warm, approachable, and engaged without letting every person in the room know when you're frustrated, anxious, or uncertain. This is especially important in moments of conflict. When you're angry, people are quick to dismiss your points as emotional rather than logical. When you're visibly rattled, they might push harder, sensing that they have the upper hand. But if you stay measured, if you keep your true emotional temperature to yourself, you keep the control. They don't get to play off your reactions because you're not giving them the fuel. It's also about protecting your recovery time. When something shakes you, you need space to process it without an audience. If you show your reaction too soon, you end up managing other people's responses to your feelings before you've even figured out how you want to handle them. And that's exhausting. Some of the most resilient people I know have mastered this. They don't deny what they feel, but they decide when and where those feelings are visible. They choose their confidence carefully. They might look calm and steady in public, then process deeply in private with people they trust completely. That balance keeps them from being manipulated by those who might see vulnerability as an opportunity. This is the kind of emotional discipline that makes people wonder, how do they stay so composed? It's not that you don't have strong feelings. It's that you don't let just anyone steer them. You're not hiding your humanity. You're protecting your power. Because once you realize that your emotional temperature can be used as leverage, you stop giving it away so easily. You start deciding who gets the full readout and who gets the headline version. And that's when you find that you can walk into almost any situation with a quiet kind of confidence. The less you hand people the controls, the less they can pull the strings. Your deepest wounds are not open invitations for everyone to examine. They're not public property. They're not stories you owe to anyone just because they ask. And yet, we live in a time where oversharing can feel like the default, where people talk about their most painful moments on social media within hours of living them. It can look brave. It can feel like connection. But the truth is, not everyone who hears your story will handle it with care. When you reveal your deepest pain to the wrong person, you're placing something fragile in hands that may not be steady. Some people will hear your story and offer empathy. Others will hear it and tuck it away as a weapon for later. And then there are those who simply won't understand, who will reduce something life-altering for you into something forgettable for them. That's not because your experience isn't valid. It's because they weren't meant to carry it in the first place. The thing about deep wounds is that they are sacred spaces. They're the places where you learned the hardest lessons, endured the hardest nights, and fought the hardest battles. They've shaped who you are, and that's exactly why they deserve protection. Not secrecy from everyone forever, but protection until you know the person you're sharing with has earned the right to hold that piece of you. And that's the key. Trust has to be earned, not assumed. Just because someone has been in your life for a long time doesn't automatically mean they've earned access to your most private pain. Longevity is not proof of loyalty. There are people who've known you for years who still haven't shown they can sit with your truth without judgment, without using it against you, without making it about them. I think sometimes we confuse vulnerability with exposure. Vulnerability is sharing something real with someone who's proven they can be trusted with it. Exposure is putting it all out there whether the person deserves it or not. And exposure doesn't always lead to healing. It can lead to re-injury. You can reopen a wound that was just starting to close if you hand it to someone who doesn't know how to hold it. Here's the other risk. The moment you let the wrong person into your pain, they might start narrating it for you. They might tell the story differently than you would. They might give it a meaning you didn't assign. And if you hear that version enough, you might even start to question your own memory of it. That's why your deepest wounds need to stay in the safest possible hands. Sometimes that means your own until you're ready. This isn't about being cold or unreachable. It's about understanding that your healing is a process, and that process can be set back by the wrong audience. When you're still piecing yourself together, you don't need someone tugging at the seams. You need people who can sit with the silence, who can witness your pain without trying to fix it, and who can keep your story in the vault you handed it to. It's also worth saying sometimes the safest place for your deepest wounds is in a space designed for them. A therapist's office, a journal, a conversation with one trusted friend, not the break room at work, not a casual dinner table, not a new acquaintance you feel strangely comfortable with in the moment. Because comfort in the moment doesn't always equal safety in the long run. And the beautiful thing is, when you do choose wisely, sharing your pain can become a bridge instead of a burden. With the right person, it can lead to understanding, connection, and even healing. But that's only because you protected it from the people who would have mishandled it along the way. So keep this in mind. Your scars tell a story, but you're the one who decides when and with whom that story is told. Not everyone gets the unedited version. Not everyone gets the intimate details. Some chapters are reserved for the few who've proven they can honor them, because not everyone deserves front row access to the battles you had to fight just to still be here. Your sense of worth is the one thing you can't afford to outsource. The moment you hand it over for other people to decide, you're putting the most valuable thing you own in the most unpredictable hands possible. And here's the tricky part. Most of us don't even realize when we've done it. It starts small. You get a compliment and it feels good. You get a little recognition and you feel validated. There's nothing wrong with that. It's human. But over time, if you're not careful, you start chasing that feeling. You start measuring yourself by how much praise you get, how much approval you collect, how much attention you draw. The problem is external validation is like sugar. It gives you a quick boost, but it doesn't last. And if you rely on it long enough, you'll start craving it just to feel okay. That means you're always waiting for someone else to tell you you're enough, which also means with one word, one criticism, one moment of disapproval, they can take it away. When your self-worth is rooted inside you, no one gets to decide how valuable you are. You can hear a compliment and appreciate it without needing it. You can hear criticism and consider it without collapsing under it. You stop living on the roller coaster of, I'm amazing one day and I'm not good enough the next. You start living on solid ground. And here's the truth. People's opinions of you will change. Sometimes in the same week. One moment you'll be their favorite person. The next they'll have an issue with you. If your value shifts with their moods, you'll spend your life constantly adjusting to stay in their good graces. That's exhausting, and it's no way to live. This is especially important for women because the world has a way of tying your worth to how much you give, how much you sacrifice, how much you please. It'll hand you labels, good, nice, selfless, and make you feel like you have to earn them every single day. And the minute you stop meeting someone's expectations, they'll act like you've lost value. But the truth is, your value was never in their hands to begin with. Building self-worth from the inside out means you know who you are without the applause. You know your strengths, your values, your character. You know what you bring to the table, even if no one thanks you for it. And here's the beautiful part. When you live like that, you can still appreciate encouragement without depending on it. You can still enjoy being recognized without feeling like you disappear when you're not. It also changes how you handle rejection. When your worth is internally anchored, rejection doesn't become proof that you're unworthy. It's just proof that something wasn't the right fit. And that perspective will save you from walking away from opportunities, relationships, or goals that were meant for you simply because someone else didn't see your value. I've met people who walk into a room and you can tell instantly they're not asking for permission to be there. They're not trying to perform their value so others will approve. They know who they are before anyone else speaks. That kind of quiet confidence is magnetic, and it comes from one thing: they've stopped making other people the source of their self-worth. And here's the part most people miss. When you stop depending on others for your value, you actually have more to give, because you're no longer giving from a place of needing something back. You're not exhausting yourself trying to be enough in someone else's eyes. You're already enough in your own. That frees you to show up fully without losing yourself in the process. So yes, accept the praise when it comes, but don't need it to breathe. Listen to the feedback, but don't let it define you. Hold on to the truth of who you are so tightly that even when the voices around you change, the one inside you stays steady. Because the moment you let someone else decide your worth, you hand them the power to take it away. And that's a power no one should ever have over you. So here's what it comes down to. There's power in what you choose to keep for yourself. Your boundaries set the tone for how you're treated. Your plans grow stronger when you give them space to breathe. Your emotional temperature stays in your control when you decide who gets to read it. Your deepest wounds heal faster when they're protected, not paraded. And your self-worth becomes unshakable when you stop outsourcing it to other people. You don't owe the world every detail of who you are. In fact, the parts you guard the closest are often the parts that keep you steady, grounded, and untouchable. You're not hiding, you're preserving the pieces of you that make everything else possible. Because at the end of the day, the strongest woman in the room isn't the one who tells everyone everything.